Following the breaking news, there's anger over the firing of 46 U.S. attorneys. A law enforcement source telling CNN, and I'm quoting now, this could not have been handled any worse because there was little warning. Our Pamela Brown, our justice correspondent, reporting that some of these U.S. attorneys were simply told to clean out their desks the same day, effective midnight tonight. There are people, she's reporting, traveling on official business, and they were just told they were fired. The Deputy Attorney General, the acting Deputy Attorney General, Dana Bente, was in the beginning stages, she's reporting, of calling each of these U.S. attorneys individually to tell them they had to resign. But several of them didn't get that word, and they learned about their dismissal in the media. Let's discuss with our panel. And Jim Acosta, new presidents, get rid of U.S. attorneys when they take office. There's a process that goes forward. President Obama did it with U.S. attorneys previously appointed, but it's unusual to do it in a way where these U.S. attorneys learn about their dismissal in the news media.
That's right. But from what we understand, and I think Jeremy can attest to this as well, over at the White House, there is a sense of urgency in this administration to bring their own people in. They're off to a very slow start in terms of filling a whole slew of positions up and down the government. And so it's not surprising that they would do it in this fashion. However, when you're dealing with U.S. attorneys, and these are law enforcement roles, one would think they would have handled it better. Yeah, the ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, Senator Dianne Feinstein, says she was told by the White House counsel it would be done in an orderly fashion, and she's apparently very concerned about the way it was done.
Right, and this is not the first time, of course, that we've seen sort of messy rollouts or messy firings in some way or another. We saw this. This is the same issue that is afflicting this administration that afflicted it during the travel ban rollout, right? This is a lack of coordination and perhaps a lack of respect for prior precedent and protocol in the way that things were done in past administrations, where they're really throwing out the playbook and doing whatever they prefer to do.
Yeah, a lot of investigations. Susan Hennessy underway, used to be an attorney over at the National Security Agency. It took Ronald Reagan about 2 years to get rid of the U.S. attorneys that he wanted to get rid of. President Obama did it much more quickly, but it was an orderly way. So there's concern about the way this was done.
Yeah, so once again, it's about the process and not the substance. It's not unusual for an incoming president to dismiss political appointees. A few people hold over to ensure continuity. That's why this group of individuals was still in office, because they do really important work. And so anytime chaos is inserted into that process, it can have serious consequences for the everyday functioning of law enforcement and criminal justice system.
George W. Bush did dismiss about 90 U.S. attorneys, but he did that in mid-March. So there's a whole little issue right now unfolding. Will it hurt the ongoing criminal investigations that are underway right now with the dismissal of these 40-plus U.S. attorneys?
So it's relatively unlikely. They have highly competent career staff at the Justice Department, so they'll move into those acting roles. Of course, like any time that a principal leaves, especially without sufficient notice and process to prepare for it, that can compromise ongoing investigations. It just sort of it makes the job more difficult, and it's already a hard job. Yeah,
and the issue is, a U.S. attorney has said, you know what, it's over, clean out your desk by midnight tonight, move on. I guess that's
to do it all in one day, though.
Yeah, to do it in one day is
very strange.
Yeah. Well, let's move on and talk a little bit about another irritant for this administration. Adam Schiff, who's the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. He was among those group of 8 that met with James Comey, the FBI director. He came out today and said he still has not seen any evidence to back up President Trump's assertion that President Obama was wiretapping Trump Tower, wiretapping him. If there is no evidence, what does this new president do?
Well, if I think it cuts to the credibility of President Trump, if it turns out that there was no basis for him to make this allegation. I just spoke with a senior White House official a few moments ago who confirmed to me that the president has not spoken with the FBI director all week since the president made this explosive charge on Twitter. I think that's notable given the fact that Comey went up to Capitol Hill, met with all these lawmakers, the fact that President Trump held meetings at the White House, met with the CIA director. There appears to be some kind of barrier in between the president and the FBI director, at least for the moment. They're not talking to each other. They haven't spoken, despite the fact that the president said something that perhaps he could just pick up the phone and call the FBI director and say, hey, I need proof of this. The president hasn't done that.
The criticism, Jeremy, as you well know, you cover the White House for us, is that why didn't the president call up the FBI director before he started tweeting last Saturday morning?
Absolutely. And, this is something very simple for the White House to get. If they want to find out if there was a FISA warrant, they could do that. The president could actually not only find out, but he could declassify the information and put it out there for the American public to find out. So while Sean Spicer, the White House press secretary, has called every single day this week saying, listen, Congress is going to investigate this. We want to move past this initial tweet. Really, what they want to find out could be found out within a few hours, if even that, where he could simply go to the Justice Department and ask for this FISA warrant or declassify it. It's actually pretty simple, and the congressional investigation is
Susan, let me get your thoughts.
Right, so I think it's important to note that President Trump's tweets actually accused the FBI of criminal conduct, right? He said that he was wiretapped improperly or illegally. That is a significant accusation. This is, of course, an FBI that serves the president, who is the head of the executive branch. So it really is incumbent upon him to show his proof or explain to the American people why he made these very serious allegations against his own government.
Let me talk to you about something else, and you guys cover the White House, and I want to make sure that we fully understand this whole deep state conspiracy notion out there, that there are Obama officials still lurking inside the government, working to promote President Obama's agenda and undermine President Trump's agenda. I want you to listen to what Sean Spicer, the press secretary, said.
I think that there's no question when you have 8 years of one party in office, that there are people who stay in government, who've affiliated with, joined and continue to espouse the agenda of the previous administration. So I don't think it should come as any surprise that there are people that burrowed into government during 8 years of the last administration and, may have believed in that agenda and can want to continue to seek it. I don't think that should come as a surprise to anyone.
I want to get, Susan, first of all, your reaction. You worked in the top secret National Security Agency when he says there are these people that burrowed into government during 8 years of the last administration.
Right, so there is no deep state. And the term itself is incredibly problematic. It's used to describe something that occurs in authoritarian regimes and not democracies. So this really is a smear against hardworking civil servants, patriots who serve their government and do a critical mission of national security. What Trump appears to be describing, or what sort of critics appear to be describing here, is just the ordinary national security bureaucracy. People who show up and do the work day in and day out, no matter who's president, and they do it in a non-political manner.
Who's behind, Jeremy, this deep state conspiracy notion?
Well, it's hard to tell exactly, but one thing that we do know is that Steve Bannon, the president's chief strategist, has talked in recent weeks about the deconstruction of the administrative state, and that goes to the deconstruction of regulation and other parts of government. But he also said that it goes to this idea of the power that intelligence agencies have in the U.S., or at least the power that he perceives them to have. Because the notion of the deep state is not just political appointees, as you said, but it really goes to a deeper theory that there are intelligence officials in the United States who have broader power than they should, and power over the happenings in government.
Well, if I think when you're complaining about the deep state, you're probably in deep something else, and I think maybe what we're witnessing right now. I mean, yes, have there been Obama holdovers who have been leaking information since the early days of the administration? Probably so. There are people in various agencies of the federal government who just didn't like what President Trump was doing as he was coming into office. But Jeremy knows this. A lot of the leaks coming out of the administration these days are coming from these rival factions inside the White House. And sometimes those leaks are embarrassing to the president, embarrassing to certain people at certain times in this administration. But to blame it on some deep state, it sounds like a Tom Clancy novel that never got published.
What I don't understand, and you worked in the government, you were a lawyer at the NSA, the National Security Agency, why the administration would want to irritate career civil servants, whether in the law enforcement community, whether in the intelligence community, in the judiciary, for example, so-called judge. What's the point? Because you only anger these folks, it could backfire.
Right, so I don't think that he's at risk of sort of the intelligence community taking its revenge, right? They'll serve the president no matter what. I think the issue here is Donald Trump has again and again besmirched the work, the integrity, questioned the expertise of the intelligence community. And so really the question is, these are people who serve him, who have valuable expertise, helping him be the commander-in-chief, make decisions on behalf of the country. And so it does raise the question of why why he is so committed to this frankly bizarre line of attacks, and why he is so concerned about undercutting the integrity and legitimacy of those institutions.
On repealing and replacing Obamacare, deal or no deal?
Well, it's difficult to see at this point. Certainly the president is conducting what I term to be a charm offensive, I think, where he's meeting with a lot of these conservative groups. And one thing that I was told yesterday by several senior administration officials was that the president, certainly the White House, is lining up, privately at least, behind conservative proposals. And one of those proposals is this idea that they want to sunset the Medicaid expansion approved under Obamacare sooner than 2020, which is what the current bill calls for. So Sean Spicer today during the briefing said that the president supports the current bill, but he also said that the president is still open to making changes to that. And while they've ruled out making major changes to the tax credits portion of this bill, they haven't ruled out changes to Medicaid. So I think that's something to keep an eye on.
My own sense is the president is less interested in all the nuances, all the details. He wants to be able to say, we repealed and replaced Obamacare.
He wants to cut a deal. And this is going to go to the heart of what happens in 2018. The Republican control of Congress may rise or fall on whether or not he can follow through on these promises, repealing and replacing Obamacare, building a wall on the Mexican border, and so on. But I talked to a senior congressional Republican source who heard what Jerry was reporting about the president being open to all these changes. And this person was saying, listen, once you start to move these pieces and these parts around, you invite more chaos into the process, and it makes it that much harder to get it done.
It's going to be a tough sell, but we'll watch it very closely, guys. Don't go too far away. Just ahead, a top commander speaks publicly for the first time about the terror raid that left a U.S. Navy SEAL dead.